My name is Melissa Carter. I'm 32 years old, and I used to believe that love could solve every problem. I thought if two people loved each other enough, they could build a happy life together. I was wrong. The saddest part is that my marriage did not begin with lies. It began with hope. I met Ryan Carter at a neighborhood charity event in Chicago. He was kind, funny, and easy to talk to. We spent hours walking by the lake, drinking coffee, and sharing our dreams. Ryan always said, "Family means everything to me." I smiled every time he said those words. I thought he meant that family should love and protect each other. I didn't know his family had a very different idea. The first time I met his mother, Patricia Carter, she looked at me from head to toe without smiling. "So," she said, "you're Melissa." "Yes, it's nice to meet you." She shook my hand for only a second. I imagined someone different. Ryan laughed. "Mom always jokes like that." I forced a smile. "It's okay." But it didn't feel like a joke. During dinner, Patricia asked strange questions. "What does your father do?" "He's retired." "And your mother?" "She passed away 5 years ago." Instead of saying she was sorry, Patricia simply nodded. "I see." Then she asked another question. "How much does your apartment cost every month?" I blinked. I'm not sure why that matters." She smiled politely. "I just like knowing who my son spends his time with." Ryan quickly changed the subject. I told myself she was only curious. Everyone deserves a chance. Over the next year, Ryan and I became closer. He proposed on a snowy evening in December. I cried before I could even answer. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes." He hugged me tightly. "I promise I'll always protect you." Those words stayed in my heart. I believed every one of them. Planning our wedding should have been exciting. Instead, Patricia wanted to control everything. "The flowers are too cheap." "The cake looks childish." "Your dress is too simple." She criticized every choice I made. One afternoon, I finally asked Ryan, "Why does your mom dislike me?" He sighed. "She doesn't dislike you?" "Then why does she always criticize me?" "That's just how she is." "I wish you'd tell her to stop." Ryan kissed my forehead. "Please don't make this into a fight." I stayed quiet. I loved him. I thought peace was more important than winning small arguments. Looking back, that was my biggest mistake. Our wedding day arrived on a warm Saturday in June. The church was filled with family and friends. Sunlight came through the colorful windows. Fresh white roses covered the front of the room. When I walked down the aisle, Ryan looked at me with tears in his eyes. "You look beautiful," he whispered. "So do you." Everyone smiled. Everyone clapped. For a few hours, I truly believed my life was beginning. The photographer took hundreds of pictures. Pictures of us holding hands. Pictures with our friends. Pictures with Ryan's family. Even Patricia smiled for the camera. Looking at her then, no one would guess how much she hated me. After the ceremony, we danced, laughed, and celebrated until late at night. Before leaving, the photographer smiled. "Your photos will be ready in 2 weeks." "I can't wait," I said. those pictures would become our memories, the beginning of our new life. Or so I believed. When we returned from our short honeymoon, I noticed something strange. Our wedding album proof had already arrived in a large envelope. I placed it carefully on the dining table. "I'm going to make coffee," I told Ryan. "I'll open it when I come back." He nodded without looking up from his phone. As I walked towards kitchen, I heard our front door open. "Ryan?" a familiar voice called. It was Patricia. She had a key to our house. I stopped for a second. I hadn't invited her. I heard quiet voices, then silence. A few minutes later, I carried 2 cups of coffee back to the living room. The envelope was gone. "So, where are the photos?" I asked. Ryan looked surprised. "I thought you moved them." I frowned. "No?" Patricia smiled as she picked up her purse. "Oh, maybe they'll turn up somewhere." Her smile felt cold. At that moment, I couldn't explain why my heart suddenly felt so heavy. I didn't know that those missing wedding photos were only the beginning. I had no idea that one day I would discover exactly what my mother-in-law had done to them. And when I learned the truth, something inside me would never be the same. For the next few days, I searched everywhere for the missing envelope. I looked in every drawer. I checked every shelf. I even searched inside empty moving boxes that were still in our garage. Nothing. The wedding photos were gone. "Ryan," I asked one evening, "are you sure you didn't move them?" He looked up from the television. "No." "Then where did they go?" He shrugged. "I don't know." "Your mom was here that day." Ryan sighed. "Melissa, please." "I'm only saying what happened." "You always think my mom is the problem." "I'm not accusing her." "But you're thinking it." I stayed quiet. There was no point arguing. Ryan always defended his mother before he even listened to me. 2 weeks later, our photographer called. "Hi, Melissa. I wanted to make sure you received the proof album." "Yes." "But it disappeared." There was a long silence. "Disappeared?" "Someone took it." "I'm so sorry." "Can you print another one?" "Of course," he said kindly. "I still have the digital files." Relief filled my heart. At least our memories were not lost forever. I ordered another album immediately. I didn't tell Patricia. I didn't want any more problems. A week later, the new album arrived. This time I hid it inside my bedroom closet before Ryan came home. That night, after dinner, I finally opened it. I smiled through tears. There was the moment Ryan held my hand at the altar. There was my late mother's necklace around my neck. There was my father crying during a father-daughter dance. Every picture reminded me of that beautiful day. For a few minutes, I forgot every problem. Then the doorbell rang. Ryan opened the front door. "Mom!" Patricia walked inside carrying a pie. "I thought I'd surprise you." She looked around the living room. Then her eyes landed on the wedding album in my hands. Her smile disappeared. "So," she said slowly, "you printed another one." I froze. "How did you know there was another one?" She didn't answer. Instead, she walked closer and stared at the photographs. I thought these were gone. Ryan looked confused. What do you mean? Patricia crossed her arms. I threw the first one away. The room became silent. I couldn't believe what I had just heard. You… what? I threw it away. My hands began shaking. Why? She looked directly into my eyes. Because I hated those pictures. I felt like all the air had left the room. They're our wedding memories. They're pictures of a marriage that never should have happened. Ryan stood there without speaking. I waited for him. I waited for my husband to say something. Anything. Instead, he rubbed the back of his neck. Mom. Patricia continued, as if nothing was wrong. I wanted my son to marry someone better. Her words cut through my heart. I've always believed that. I looked at Ryan. Are you going to say something? He hesitated. Then he spoke quietly. Mom shouldn't have done that. My heart lifted for 1 second. Then he added, but it's only pictures. I stared at him. Only pictures? We have digital copies. That's not the point. He sighed. Melissa, don't make this bigger than it is. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Those photos were not just paper. They were the first memories of our marriage. The only photographs of my father smiling after years of sadness. The last pictures of the necklace my mother had left me before it was later stolen during a burglary. They could never truly be replaced. I turned back toward Patricia. You had no right. She smiled without regret. I was trying to help my son. By destroying our memories? By reminding him he still has choices. I felt tears running down my face. Ryan reached for my hand. Please calm down. I stepped away from him. No. You've both hurt me. He looked frustrated. You're overreacting. That sentence hurt even more than Patricia's cruel words, because it came from my husband, the man who had promised to protect me. That night, I locked myself inside our bedroom. I cried until I had no tears left. Around midnight, I heard Ryan talking on the phone in the hallway. His voice was soft. Mom, don't worry. There was a pause. No, she's just emotional. Another pause. I'll handle her. Those 4 words broke something inside me. Not, I'll protect my wife. Not, Mom, you were wrong. Just, I'll handle her. For the first time since our wedding, I wondered if I had married the wrong man. And deep inside, a frightening thought began to grow. Maybe my real battle had never been with my mother-in-law. Maybe it had always been with the son who refused to stop her. After that night, something inside me changed. I still cooked dinner. I still cleaned the house. I still smiled when Ryan came home from work. But my heart was no longer the same. I stopped expecting him to choose me. Every morning, Patricia called him before he left for work. Every evening, she called again. Sometimes they talked for an hour. If I wanted to spend time with my husband, I had to wait until his mother finished talking. One Saturday morning, I suggested something simple. Ryan, why don't we go to the lake today? He smiled. That sounds nice. Before we could leave, his phone rang. It was Patricia. Ryan answered immediately. "Hi, Mom." I could hear her voice through the speaker. "Ryan, I need help moving some furniture." He looked at me. "I'm sorry." "We already made plans." "I know." "You can tell her no." He looked uncomfortable. "I can't." "Why not?" "She needs me." "And I don't?" He lowered his eyes. "I'll make it up to you." He kissed my forehead and left. I watched him drive away. Our plans disappeared in less than 2 minutes, just like that. That evening, he came home smiling. "Mom made your favorite apple pie." He held out the container. I didn't take it. "I don't want it." His smile faded. "Melissa, you're being childish." I laughed quietly. "Childish?" My mother burns my wedding photos, insults me, and ruins every plan we make. "And you think I'm the problem?" Ryan rubbed his temples. "I just want peace." "So do I." But peace doesn't happen when only one person keeps giving. He walked away without answering. A few days later, I came home early from work because I had a terrible headache. As I opened the front door, I heard voices inside the house. Patricia was sitting at my dining table. She wasn't supposed to be there. Neither of us had invited her. She was drinking coffee from my favorite mug. Ryan sat beside her. Neither of them noticed me standing in the hallway. Patricia smiled as she spoke. "You should never have married her." Ryan stayed silent. "You deserve someone from a better family." Still silence. "She'll never be good enough." I waited. I prayed my husband would finally defend me. Instead, he sighed. "I know things have been difficult." My heart stopped. Patricia nodded. "If you leave her now, you're still young enough to start over." Ryan didn't answer. He didn't tell his mother to stop. He didn't say he loved me. He simply sat there, listening, accepting every cruel word. I quietly walked back outside before they saw me. I sat in my car for nearly an hour. I couldn't stop crying. Not because Patricia hated me. I had known that for a long time. I cried because my husband never stopped her. That evening, I pretended I had worked late. Ryan acted as if nothing had happened. "So?" he asked during dinner. "How was your day?" I looked at him. "You tell me." "What do you mean?" "You and your mother seemed busy." His face turned pale. "You came home?" "Yes." Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Finally, he said, "You misunderstood." "I heard everything." Mom was upset. "And you?" "I didn't agree with her." "You didn't disagree either." He looked away. "I didn't want another fight." I took a slow breath. "Ryan, every time your mother hurts me, you stay quiet." "I hate conflict." "No." I shook my head. "You only hate conflict when it involves me." His eyes filled with frustration. "What do you want me to do?" "I wanted a husband." "I am your husband." "No." I felt tears forming again. "You're your mother's son first." Those words hung in the air between us. For the first time, Ryan had no answer. That night, I couldn't sleep. I opened the closet and looked at our wedding album. I gently turned each page. The smiles in those pictures belonged to two people who believed love was enough. I barely recognized that woman anymore. The next morning, I called my father. He listened quietly while I told him everything. When I finished, he spoke softly. "Melissa, your mother loved you more than anything." I smiled through my tears. I know. If she were here today, what would she tell you? I closed my eyes. I could almost hear my mother's voice. She would never tell me to stay where I wasn't respected. She would never tell me that love meant accepting pain every day. She would tell me that I deserved kindness. She would tell me that marriage should feel like home, not like a battlefield. For the first time in months, I stopped asking myself how to save my marriage. Instead, I asked a different question. Was this marriage still worth saving at all? For several days, I said very little. Ryan noticed the silence, but he never asked why. Maybe he already knew. Maybe he was afraid of the answer. One Friday evening, Patricia invited herself to our house again. She walked in without knocking. She still had the spare key Ryan had given her. I was setting the table for dinner when she smiled at me. "You should make Ryan's steak better," she said. "He likes it the way I cook it." I put the plate down. "Patricia, this is my home." She laughed. "It became your home because of my son." Ryan walked into the kitchen just in time to hear her words. He looked at both of us. I waited. I hoped this time would be different. It wasn't. "Can we please not argue?" he said. That was enough. I slowly untied my apron and placed it on the kitchen counter. I looked at Ryan. "I need to ask you one question." He nodded. "What is it?" "If your mother and I were both drowning, who would you save?" He frowned. "Melissa, that's a ridiculous question." "No, it isn't." "I want an honest answer." He looked at his mother, then back at me. Finally, he spoke. "She's my mother." Those 3 words were all I needed. I smiled, not because I was happy, because I was finally free from doubt. I quietly walked upstairs. I packed one suitcase. I took my clothes, my mother's necklace box, and my wedding album. Nothing else mattered. Ryan followed me into the bedroom. "What are you doing?" "I'm leaving." He looked shocked. Over one argument? I stopped folding my sweater. "Ryan, this isn't one argument. This is every time you chose your mother instead of your wife." He shook his head. "You're overthinking this." "No, I finally see it clearly." He reached for my hand. "Please don't go." I gently stepped away. "When I married you, you promised to protect me." "You never did. You protected the person who hurt me." He had no answer. Downstairs, Patricia called loudly, "Ryan! Hurry up!" I looked at him one last time. She's still calling. "You should go." He stood frozen. I carried my suitcase downstairs. Patricia crossed her arms. "So you're leaving?" "Yes." She smiled. "Good. I knew you weren't strong enough for this family." I looked directly into her eyes. "No. I'm leaving because I am stronger than you think. You tried to destroy my memories. You tried to destroy my marriage. But you will never destroy who I am. For the first time since I met her, Patricia had nothing to say. I walked out the front door. No one stopped me. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. Ryan never fought to save our marriage. He only asked if we could stay friends. I politely said no. Some bridges cannot be rebuilt. A year later, I moved into a small apartment closer to my father. It wasn't a large place, but it was peaceful. There were no surprise visits, no cruel words, no fear of coming home. One sunny afternoon, my father helped me hang my wedding photos on a wall in my guest room. I smiled when he looked confused. "Why keep them?" he asked gently. "They remind me of an important lesson." "What lesson?" I touched one of the pictures. The woman in these photos believed love alone could make a marriage work. I smiled softly. The woman standing here today knows that love without respect will always end in heartbreak. A few weeks later, I heard through a mutual friend that Patricia had become seriously ill. Ryan was taking care of her every day. He had little time for himself. He had lost friends. His marriage was over. His life revolved around the same person he had always chosen. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel angry. I simply wished them peace. As for me, I had finally found mine. Sometimes people ask if I regret leaving. I always give the same answer. I didn't leave because his mother burned our wedding photos. I left because my husband watched my heart burn and did nothing. That was the real fire. And walking away was the only way I could finally stop getting burned. Sometimes the strongest act of love is not holding on. Sometimes it is finding the courage to let go and choose yourself.